Oh my God.
The dust never settled in Copper Creek. It just hung in the air like the breath of dead men, and nobody talked about why anymore. Marcus Gray sat on the wooden step of his broken ranch house, watching the sky turn orange and red. He was a tall man, but his back was bent now. His face was hard like old leather. He had once been a rancher with 50 horses and a dream. Now he had 3 horses, a house with no roof in 2 rooms, and a dream that had died somewhere between his wife's grave and his son's empty bed. It was a Thursday when the horse came. Marcus saw the dust cloud first, that rolling golden cloud that meant something was moving fast across the empty desert. He stood up slowly, his old bones creaking like a wooden door. His rifle was inside the house, but he did not go to get it. After 15 years of living alone on this broken land, Marcus had learned something. Sometimes you just had to wait and see what the desert brought. The horse appeared through the heat, like it was being born from the earth itself. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had seen in a very long time. The animal was tall, midnight black, with white marks on its face like lightning. Its mane flew in the wind like it was alive, like it had its own heart beating separate from the horse's body. But something was wrong, very wrong. The horse was running, yes, but it was running wrong. It was limping. Its shoulder was bleeding. And most strange of all, there was no rider. Marcus watched as the black horse got closer and closer. He could hear its breathing now, hard and desperate, like the animal was crying without making sound. The horse's eyes were wide with fear or pain or both. And still, it kept running toward the ranch. Marcus stepped away from the wooden step. He moved slowly to the water bucket he kept near the house. The bucket was not very full, but it had water, cold water. The horse would need it. When the black horse finally stopped, it almost fell. Its legs gave way like they were made of rubber, and the horse dropped to its knees in the dust right in front of Marcus's house. The animal was shaking. Its whole body was shaking like the ground was moving underneath it. Marcus looked at the horse's side, where the blood was coming from. It was a deep cut, the kind that could only come from a knife or a bullet or something sharp and angry. Someone had hurt this animal. Someone had wanted this horse to suffer. But the horse had run away. The horse had run and kept running until it found this place, until it found Marcus. "Easy now," Marcus said. His voice was very soft. He had not spoken to another living thing in so long that his words came out like he was asking permission to use them. "Easy. I have water. I have water, and I will not hurt you." He walked very slowly to the horse's head. The animal watched him with those wide, dark eyes. The horse could have kicked. The horse could have run. But it did not. Instead, it just watched. It just waited. Marcus held the water bucket so the horse could drink. The animal's lips were dry and cracked. Its tongue was thick and almost white. It drank the water so fast that Marcus thought it would make itself sick. But the horse knew what it needed. The horse knew how much to take. When the bucket was empty, the black horse rested its head against Marcus's shoulder. Marcus felt something break open inside his chest. He had not touched another living creature except his horses in so many years. He had almost forgotten what it felt like, the warmth, the weight of something real and alive depending on him, needing him. "I know," Marcus whispered into the horse's mane. "I know. Someone hurt you. Someone was cruel. But that is finished now. That is finished." The horse stayed there, its head on Marcus's shoulder, for a long time. The sun continued to fall. The sky continued to turn colors red, then orange, then purple, then dark. And still the horse did not move away. That night, Marcus did something he had not done in years. He lit a lantern in his barn. He brought clean water. He found the soft hay that was meant for his own 3 old horses. He worked very slowly, with careful hands, and he cleaned the wound on the black horse's side. The cut was deep. It would leave a scar. But it was not the kind of wound that would kill the animal. As Marcus worked, he began to talk. He told the horse about his wife, who had died in the cold winter of 1889. He told the horse about his son, who had left to find gold in the mountains and never came back. He told the horse about the years of loneliness, the years of waking up and finding nothing to live for, the mornings when he thought about walking into the desert and just not coming back. The horse stood very still and listened. And somewhere in the middle of the night, as Marcus finished cleaning the wound and wrapped it with cloth, something changed inside him. Something that had been broken for so long that he had forgotten it was supposed to work. He understood that this horse had been running from something. He understood that this horse had been hurt by someone. But the horse had chosen to run toward this place, toward this broken man, toward this empty ranch on the edge of nothing. "Why did you come here?" Marcus asked the horse. "There are better places. There are towns with people and food and safety. Why did you run toward me?" The horse did not answer with words, but it turned its head and rested it against Marcus's chest, right where his heart was. And in that moment, Marcus understood something that he had never understood before. Sometimes the broken things find each other. Sometimes the lost things run toward other lost things. And sometimes in the middle of the empty desert, two broken creatures can make each other whole again. The black horse stayed at the ranch that night. And Marcus Gray, for the first time in 15 years, did not sleep alone.
The black horse stayed. 3 days passed, and the horse did not leave. Marcus woke every morning thinking the animal would be gone, that the moment had been a dream, that his mind had finally broken from so many years of silence. But every morning, the black horse was there in the barn, waiting for him, watching for him. On the first day, Marcus gave the horse a name. He stood in the barn with the morning sun coming through the cracks in the wood, and he looked at the horse's eyes. Those eyes held something that Marcus recognized. They held memory. They held pain. They held a story that nobody wanted to hear. "I will call you Shadow," Marcus said, "because you came out of darkness, and because you are dark, and because you follow me like a shadow now. Shadow, that is your name." The horse turned its head toward Marcus's voice. It was a small thing, but Marcus felt it in his bones. The horse understood. Somehow, the horse knew that it had been given something important. A name, an identity, a place in this world that meant it belonged to something. Marcus began to care for Shadow with a patience he thought he had lost. Every morning, he cleaned the wound on the horse's side. The cut was healing well. The cloth he wrapped around, it was becoming cleaner and cleaner because the bleeding had almost stopped. Marcus would talk to Shadow while he worked, and the horse would stand still, calm and peaceful, as if the old man's voice was a kind of medicine. "You are getting stronger," Marcus would say. "Every day I see it. Your legs are not shaking anymore. Your eyes are brighter. Someone did this to you. Someone was cruel and evil. But you are a fighter, Shadow. You have a strong heart." On the second day, Marcus made a discovery. He was brushing Shadow's mane when his fingers caught on something hard, something that should not be there. Marcus looked closer and found a leather cord tied very tight around the horse's neck. The cord was hidden under the thick hair, hidden so well that nobody would see it unless they were looking very carefully. And tied to that cord was a tag. Marcus's hand shook as he untied the knot. The cord was so tight that it had cut into the horse's skin, leaving a mark like a scar. Shadow had been wearing this cord for a long time, a very long time. The tag was made of metal, old and worn, and on it, carved in rough letters, was a name. Thunder. Someone had named this horse Thunder. Someone had put this cord around its neck. Someone had owned Shadow before Marcus found him. Marcus sat down hard on the hay. His legs would not hold him anymore. He looked at the tag in his hand, and he understood something terrible. This horse did not come here by accident. This horse was running from someone. This horse had been hurt on purpose. This horse had been trying to escape. "Who owned you?" Marcus whispered. "Who was cruel enough to mark you like this? Who put a cord around your neck and called you something that you are not?" Shadow walked over to Marcus and rested his head against the old man's shoulder. The horse did not answer with words, but Marcus felt the answer in the way the animal's body was shaking. Fear, the memory of pain, the memory of a hand that was not kind. That night, Marcus made a decision. He took the cord and the tag, and he buried them deep in the desert, far away from the ranch, in a place where nobody would ever find them. He said words over the ground, words like a prayer, words like a promise, and he told Shadow that the past was gone. The past was finished. The cord was no more. You are Shadow now, Marcus said. Not thunder, not something that belongs to someone else. You belong to yourself, and you belong here with me on this ranch. You are free. On the third day, something happened that changed everything. A man came. Marcus was in the field, mending a fence that had been broken for 3 years, when he heard the sound of a horse coming fast. Not one horse, 3 horses, and the men riding them were not the kind of men who came to visit lonely ranchers to be kind. They were hard men. Their faces were burned by the sun, but their eyes were cold. They wore guns on their hips, and they rode like they owned the whole desert. Marcus stood up straight. He put his hand on the fence post to steady himself. His heart was beating very fast. The men stopped near the barn. The leader was a large man with a scar that ran down the side of his face like a river of white skin. He looked around the ranch with eyes that were hungry and angry at the same time. "We are looking for a horse," the scarred man said. His voice was rough like gravel. "A black horse. Tall. Fast. We lost it 3 days ago. Have you seen it?" Marcus did not answer right away. He looked at the man's face. He looked at the gun on the man's hip. He looked at the other 2 men, who were watching him with eyes that promised violence. "No," Marcus said finally. His voice was steady. He was surprised by how steady it was. "I have not seen any horse like that." The scarred man rode closer. He looked at Marcus very carefully. "You are a liar," he said. "I can see it on your face. You are hiding something." "I'm old," Marcus said. "I am not hiding anything. I'm just trying to live. I have my own horses. I do not want trouble." The scar man leaned down from his horse. "The horse we were looking for," he said, "was a valuable animal. It belonged to a man who did not treat it well. The horse ran away. And if we find that horse with you, old man, then you have stolen from a powerful man. And stealing from a powerful man means death." Marcus felt the fear move through his body like cold water. But he looked at the scarred man, and he did not move. He did not shake. He did not show his fear. "I told you," Marcus said quietly. "I have not seen your horse." The 3 men looked at each other. The scarred man smiled, but it was not a smile that was kind. Then, slowly, he turned his horse around. "If we find out you are lying," he said, "we will come back. And next time, we will burn your ranch to the ground." They rode away in a cloud of dust. Marcus stood very still until the dust settled and the men were gone. Then he walked slowly back to the barn. Shadow was there, standing in the corner, trembling with fear. The horse knew. The horse understood what had just happened. Someone was looking for Shadow. Someone wanted the horse back. And Marcus Gray, for the first time in 15 years, had something to protect. The night after the scarred man left, Marcus did not sleep. He sat in the barn with Shadow, his old rifle across his knees, and he waited for something bad to happen. The wind moved through the broken boards of the barn, making sounds like voices, like warnings, like ghosts trying to tell him something. Shadow stood close to Marcus, as if the horse also knew that danger was coming. At midnight, Marcus finally spoke. "They will come back," he said to the horse. "That man with the scar, he will come back with fire and guns. He will burn everything I have built. And if he finds you here, he will take you. He will hurt you again." Shadow's ears moved toward Marcus's voice. The horse understood that the old man was afraid. But the horse did not run. The horse did not leave. The horse simply stood there, waiting, trusting that Marcus would know what to do. Marcus looked at his rifle. He looked at the 3 bullets he had left. He looked at the barn around him, at the hay he had gathered, at the fence he had started to mend, at the small signs of life he had tried to build after so many years of death. "I cannot fight them," Marcus whispered. "I am too old. I am too weak. And even if I could fight, I would lose." But he could do something else. On the morning of the 4th day, Marcus made a choice that nearly killed him inside. He walked into town. Copper Creek was a small town, The kind of place where everybody knew everybody else's business. The kind of place where secrets were currency more valuable than gold. Marcus had not been to town in 5 years. People stared at him like he was a ghost coming back from the dead. He walked to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Tom Bailey was a good man, the kind of man who had once been young and believed in justice. He was older now, worn down by years of dealing with men who had no conscience and no fear. When Marcus walked through the door, Sheriff Bailey looked up from his desk, and his eyes went wide. "Marcus Gray," the sheriff said. "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," Marcus replied. "But I might be soon. I need to tell you something. I need to tell you about a man with a scar on his face. I need to tell you about a black horse. And I need to tell you about crime." Marcus sat down in the hard wooden chair across from the sheriff's desk, and he told everything. He told about Shadow arriving at the ranch. He told about the cord and the tag with the name Thunder. He told about the scarred man who came looking for the horse. He told about the threat to burn his ranch. When Marcus finished speaking, Sheriff Bailey was quiet for a very long time. "That man," the sheriff said slowly, "is named Cole Mercer. He is a cruel man who uses horses for fighting. He makes money by betting on horses in illegal fights. He trains them with violence and fear. If a horse tries to escape, like Shadow did, Cole hunts it down like it is a criminal." Marcus felt his heart sink even deeper into his chest. "What will you do?" Marcus asked. "I will arrest him if I can," the sheriff said. "But Marcus, you need to know something. Cole Mercer is a dangerous man, and his friends are dangerous too. If you keep that horse, he will come for you. He will come with fire and guns." "I know," Marcus said. "That is why I came here." That afternoon, the sheriff gathered 3 deputies, and they rode out to the ranch with Marcus. They searched the barn, and they found Shadow. They took photographs of the horse and the wounds. They documented everything. And then Sheriff Bailey took Shadow to a place where the horse would be safe. A sanctuary for abused animals, hidden away in the mountains where Cole Mercer would never find it. Marcus watched as they led Shadow away. The horse looked back at Marcus with those dark eyes one last time. The animal did not understand why it was being taken. The horse did not understand that Marcus was trying to save it by letting it go. "I am sorry," Marcus said to Shadow. "I am so sorry, but this is the only way to keep you safe." Shadow made a sound, a small, sad sound, and then the horse was gone, disappearing down the desert road in a cloud of dust. Marcus walked back to his empty barn and sat down in the hay where he and Shadow had slept together for 3 nights. 3 nights. That was all the time they had been given. 3 nights of companionship, of healing, of remembering what it meant to care for another living thing. He cried then. He cried in a way he had not cried since his wife died, since his son disappeared. He cried because his heart had been opened and then broken again, because he had been given hope and then had to let it go. 2 days later, Cole Mercer came to the ranch. He came with 5 men instead of 3. He came with fire in his eyes and violence in his hands. They tore through the barn, looking for Shadow. They destroyed the fence Marcus had started to mend. They turned over the water bucket. They left destruction everywhere. But they did not find the horse. "Where is he?" Cole Mercer screamed at Marcus. "Where's my horse?" "Gone," Marcus said simply. "He is gone from this place. He is safe from you." Cole Mercer raised his hand to strike Marcus, but at that moment, Sheriff Bailey and his deputies came over the hill. The sound of guns being readied made Cole and his men stop. "Cole Mercer," the sheriff said, "you are under arrest for animal cruelty and for threatening this man. You have the right to remain silent." As the deputies put chains on Cole Mercer and led him away, the scarred man looked back at Marcus with eyes full of hatred. "You have not won," Cole shouted. "That horse will never be free. It will never be at peace. The mark I put on it will follow it forever." Marcus did not answer. He simply watched as Cole Mercer was taken away. That night, Marcus stood in his empty barn and looked at the place where Shadow had slept. He thought about the 3 nights they had shared. He thought about the moment when he had to let the horse go to keep it safe. And he understood something important. True love sometimes means letting go. True protection sometimes means sacrifice. And sometimes, the greatest gift you can give to someone you love is your own pain. Shadow was safe now. That was what mattered. That was enough. 6 months passed like a long, slow dream. Marcus woke every morning in the darkness before dawn, and for a moment, he forgot that Shadow was gone. His mind would reach for the memory of the horse's presence in the barn, the warm breath, the soft sound of hooves in the hay. And the truth would come back like a knife, and he would remember Shadow was gone. The horse was safe somewhere in the mountains, but it was not here. It was not with him. Marcus worked on the ranch with a quiet purpose. He fixed the fence that Cole Mercer's men had destroyed. He repaired the barn roof so it no longer leaked when the rain came. He cleaned out the water buckets and filled them every morning, though now there was no black horse to drink from them. Sheriff Bailey came to visit sometimes. He would sit on the wooden step where Marcus had first seen Shadow appear through the dust, and he would tell Marcus about the trial. Cole Mercer had been found guilty of animal cruelty. He was in prison now, locked away where he could hurt no more horses, no more creatures, no more innocent beings. "You did a good thing," the sheriff told Marcus. "You saved that horse's life." But Marcus did not feel like he had done a good thing. He felt like he had lost something precious. He felt like the 3 nights with Shadow had been a gift that he had to give back before he was ready. On the morning of the 184th day, something strange happened. Marcus was working in the field, trying to fix the dry well that had been broken for years. The work was hard, and his body was old, and the sun was hot. He was not paying attention to the world around him. He was lost in his thoughts, in his memories, in the sadness that had become his constant companion. That is why he did not hear the horse coming until it was very close. Marcus turned, and his heart stopped. It was a man on a black horse. The man was young, maybe 30 years old, with kind eyes and a weathered face that had known both hardship and happiness. The horse underneath him was midnight black, with white marks on its face like lightning. The horse was strong and healthy and beautiful, with a mane that flew in the wind like it had its own heartbeat. It was Shadow, but Shadow was different now. The wound on the horse's side had healed, leaving only a thin scar that proved the injury had existed. The eyes were bright and clear, no longer holding fear or pain. The horse moved with confidence and power, like it had been born knowing it was meant to run free. Marcus could not move. He could not breathe. He could not believe what he was seeing. The young man on the horse smiled. "Are you Marcus Gray?" he asked. Marcus nodded. He could not find his voice. "My name is William Chun," the young man said. "I run the sanctuary in the mountains where the injured horses come to heal. Sheriff Bailey brought a black horse to us 6 months ago. He said the horse belonged to you, but that you had given it up to keep it safe." Marcus still could not speak. He was staring at Shadow, trying to understand how the horse could be here, in his field, looking at him with those dark eyes that had not forgotten him. "This horse," William continued, "was the most remarkable animal I have ever worked with. When it first came to us, it was broken by fear. It did not trust people. It did not believe it could ever be safe. But something changed inside it. Slowly, day by day, it began to heal. Not just its body, but its spirit." William dismounted from the horse and walked Shadow closer to Marcus. "I trained this horse, and many others," William said. "But I have never seen an animal bond with a human the way this horse bonded with someone. Every night, this horse would stand at the edge of the sanctuary and look toward the south, toward where it came from, toward where you are." Marcus reached out slowly, and Shadow moved forward. The horse's nose touched his hand, and Marcus felt the warmth of the animal's breath on his skin. After 6 months of healing, William said, "I decided that this horse needed to come home. Not to any ranch, not to any owner, but to the person who loved it enough to let it go. The person who understood that true love means sacrifice." Marcus placed his hand on Shadow's neck, and he could feel the horse's heartbeat, strong and steady and alive. "I cannot give this horse to you," William said. "No one can own Shadow. The horse is wild now, and the horse is free. But I can tell you that Shadow will stay here at this ranch for as long as you live. The horse will choose to be here. The horse will choose you." Tears ran down Marcus's weathered face. He did not try to hide them. He did not try to be strong. He simply stood there with his hand on Shadow's neck, and he cried like a man who has been given back his life. "Why?" Marcus asked. "Why did you bring Shadow back?" William smiled. "Because some bonds are too strong to be broken by distance or time or pain. Because this horse never forgot you. Because you taught that horse what it means to be loved. And because I believe that every living creature deserves to spend its life with the one who truly understands its heart. That evening, Marcus and William sat on the wooden step where Marcus had first spotted the dust cloud that brought Shadow to him. They talked about horses and healing and second chances. William told Marcus that Shadow could stay at the ranch, that the sanctuary would support the horse, that Marcus would never have to pay for the horse's care. Shadow chose to come back to you, William said. I was just the person who listened. As the sun set and the sky turned orange and red, Shadow walked over to Marcus and rested its head on the old man's shoulder. The horse was home. The horse had never stopped being home. And Marcus Gray, who had thought his life was finished, who had believed that loneliness was his only future, understood finally that some miracles are real. Some broken things do become whole again. Some lost creatures do find their way home. 1 year passed, then 2, then 5. The broken ranch on the edge of Copper Creek became something that people talked about when they sat around fires at night. They called it the ranch where the broken man and the broken horse learned to live again. They told the story to their children, and their children told it to their children. Marcus Gray was no longer a lonely old man waiting to die. He was a man who had learned to live. Every morning, Marcus woke before dawn and walked to the barn. Shadow was always awake, waiting, watching for him. The horse would nuzzle Marcus's shoulder, and together they would walk out into the desert to watch the sun rise. The scar on Shadow's side had faded to almost nothing, a thin white line that was barely visible unless you knew where to look. Marcus had changed too. His back was not bent anymore. His face, though still weathered by the sun and marked by the years of loneliness, now held something that it had not held before: hope. His eyes were bright. His voice was strong. He spoke to Shadow about everything, about the weather, about the birds, about memories of his wife and his son, about dreams for the future. We are not broken anymore, Marcus would tell Shadow as they rode across the desert. We were broken, yes. We were hurt, yes. But we found each other, and we made each other whole again. Shadow would run then, fast and free, with Marcus on his back, and the old man would laugh, a sound like thunder rolling across empty land. William Chun, who ran the sanctuary in the mountains, came to visit regularly. He brought other horses that needed healing, horses that had been abused and abandoned. Marcus and Shadow helped those horses learn to trust again. Shadow would stand with the injured animals, as if the horse understood pain, as if Shadow was teaching them that suffering could end, that safety was possible, that there were kind hands in the world. Shadow is a healer, William told Marcus one afternoon. This horse does not just live here. This horse teaches. Every animal that comes to this ranch learns from Shadow that it is possible to recover. It is possible to trust again. It is possible to love. Marcus nodded. He understood this truth in his bones. The town of Copper Creek began to change too. Ranchers who had heard about Marcus and Shadow started to treat their animals with more kindness. They understood, somehow, that the horse and the old man were teaching a lesson about compassion. People would ride out to the ranch just to see Shadow, just to stand in the presence of something that had survived cruelty and come out the other side stronger, not broken. Sheriff Bailey brought troubled boys to the ranch. Boys who had lost their way, who had anger in their hearts, who did not believe that kindness existed in the world. Marcus would let these boys work with Shadow. He would teach them how to speak to the horse softly, how to move slowly, how to understand that patience and gentleness were not signs of weakness. They were signs of power. Every single boy who worked with Shadow left the ranch different. They left with something healed inside them. They left knowing that transformation was possible. On a cold morning in the 10th year after Shadow came to the ranch, Marcus woke and knew that something was different. He was 83 years old now. His body was tired in ways that even Shadow's love could not fix. But his spirit was still strong. His heart was still full. He walked to the barn, and Shadow was waiting. I do not know how many more mornings we have, Marcus said to the horse. My body is wearing out. But listen to me, Shadow. Listen carefully. When I am gone, you must stay here. This is your home. This is your sanctuary. William will take care of you. The people of Copper Creek will protect you. You will never be alone." Shadow pressed his forehead against Marcus's chest, as if the horse understood exactly what Marcus was saying. That morning, Marcus rode Shadow out to the place where he had first found the horse, near the Forbidden River, to the rocks where Shadow had been trapped so long ago. They stood there together, looking at the water, looking at the land that had tried to kill the horse but had failed. "We beat it," Marcus whispered. "We beat the pain. We beat the cruelty. We beat the darkness. And we did it together." Marcus reached up and touched Shadow's mane, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. For a moment, there was only the old man and the horse, standing at the edge of the river where everything had begun. That winter, Marcus Gray died in his sleep. Shadow was with him in the barn, lying beside the old man's bed, as the man's heart gave its last beat and his breathing stopped. The horse understood. The horse knew that Marcus was gone. Shadow did not leave the barn for 3 days. The horse would not eat. The horse would not drink. The horse simply lay there in the hay where so many nights had been spent, remembering, grieving, honoring the man who had saved his life and, in return, been saved by the horse. On the 4th day, William Chun came to the ranch. He walked into the barn, and he found Shadow standing up, looking out the window toward the desert. "He is gone," William said softly to the horse. "But he left you here. He left you with this ranch, with this place, with the knowledge that you are loved and that you always will be." William opened the barn doors, and Shadow walked out into the morning light. The horse did not run away. The horse walked to the water bucket and drank. The horse walked to the hay and ate. And then Shadow walked to the wooden step where Marcus had first waited for the sunrise, and the horse stood there, watching the desert. Years passed. Shadow lived to be 30 years old, an age that is ancient for horses, an age that should not have been possible for an animal that had suffered so much abuse. But Shadow lived because the horse had learned love, because the horse had been given purpose, because the horse understood that it was meant to teach others about healing. When Shadow finally passed away, they say that the wind that night carried a sound like thunder rolling across the desert. They say that every horse in Copper Creek raised its head and made a sound like mourning. They say that the stars seemed brighter that night, as if the sky itself was celebrating the life of a remarkable creature. Today, if you go to Copper Creek, you will find the ranch is still there. People still visit. They come to remember the story of an old man and a black horse who found each other in the darkness and brought each other into the light. And if you listen carefully in the desert at dawn, some people say you can still hear the sound of hooves running across the sand. Some people say you can still see a shadow moving through the morning mist, the shape of a horse, strong and free and wild, forever running toward home. The legend does not die. The love does not fade. Some bonds are stronger than death itself, and that, the people of Copper Creek say, is the greatest truth the desert ever taught them.